Today, we are speaking with a gentleman who is the Vice President of Digital Channels at Union Savings Bank. He's got 21 years of experience in banking, which is why I was like, oh, please come on my show. He has worked not only at Union Savings Bank, but over those 21 years, he's worked with Citibank, he's worked at American Express, Webster Bank. He is from Stanford University. I didn't know him, but we actually were there around the same time. And he ran track at Stanford University.
Yeah.
He is also a cyclist, a sports fan, and he DJs on the side. Okay. When I say on the side, like having some fun with that. And here's why I was like, please let me interview you, because I was on LinkedIn and I saw that he has spearheaded this new product at his bank, and it is called Spending Insights, and it helps customers track their spending, keep track of their budgeting. And I personally, I have an app that I use. I'm not going to name it because it's not important, but I just love having everyone be on track of their spending. And I just want you to both get to know him as a gentleman, because you know this is still a 365 Brothers interview, so we're still going to talk about his life. But you know, there'll be a little bit that comes out as well about that product and just his experiences in banking. So, Chris, before we go on to the questions, is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners to help them get to know you better before we do the questions?
I'm a East Coaster, born and bred. I love my time in California. I came home afterwards. I interviewed for jobs on the East Coast and West Coast. East Coast won, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. Now, where exactly are you from?
I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, but I was born in Hartford, Connecticut.
Okay. Okay. Got you. All right. All right. Well, let's dive in. First thing is, what is a favorite song or movie, either now or all time?
All-time favorite movie is The Matrix. It's just so dope. Yeah, I'm a huge science fiction fan. I really kind of felt that it changed the game as far as movie and making and special effects is concerned. Mm-hmm. I also like the way that it helped to imagine what virtual reality would look like and what a real world, virtual world might look like. And it asks existential questions about the nature of reality.
Yes, it did. Oh my gosh. You're probably the third or fourth of the 100 and something brothers, which when you think about it as a percentage, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of people naming that movie. Have you seen Resurrection? What'd you think?
I liked it. I didn't love it.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I need to go back and see it again myself.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It was good, and I like what they were going for, and there was a lot in there, but it really is something I think I'd have to watch like 2 or 3 times to appreciate all the different things they threw in together, you know? Yeah. So perfect. Love that movie so much. Let's talk about childhood. What is a favorite moment from your childhood?
Really my whole track career. So I started running track when I was 8 years old. I was inspired watching the Olympics when I was a little kid. I was fortunate enough to get a track scholarship ultimately to go to Stanford. I competed in nationals at the age of 13 and earned a bronze medal. And I used to hold the New York State record in 200 meters.
Wow. Okay, like for real, for real.
For real. I used to be fat. I had dreams of making the Olympics.
Wow. Got it. And what was your event?
200 meters. I was a sprinter. I ran the 100, 200, and 400 meters, okay, as well as the relays. But 200 was my best event. Kind of my claim to fame, I like to say, is my junior year. I had the great privilege of finishing a distant fourth to 3 future Olympians, 2 from UCLA and 1 from Cal.
Gotcha.
Fourth at the Pac-10 championships. First, second, and third place all went on to the Olympics, and 2 of them won medals.
Oh, that's what I got. Okay. Wow. Okay, so fast.
Yeah, I was a little fast. Several years and several pounds ago, I was fast.
We won't talk about that because then I don't want to talk about over here. But yeah. I really appreciate you bringing that up, because we know that many brothers get sports scholarships to school, to college, and use it to, you know, further their education and their careers. But we often don't get a look back, like to see, like, okay, so what did, you know, where does this athlete, you know what I'm saying, end up? And like to hear, you know, here you were, this amazing athlete, and still also amazing as a VP of digital channels at a bank. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I love when whoever might hear this, especially younger people, that, you know, yeah, get that, you know, use that track, use that sports, get that degree. But then what else are you going to do? What else? Because life is long.
It's kind of interesting that you bring that up. I don't know how much sports you watch or how much college sports you watch specifically, but there are commercials that are run by the NCAA themselves. And they say that most of our athletes go professional in something other than sports.
It's a numbers game. There's only so many spaces, right?
Yeah. And I mean, and you know, just the talent that's required to make it to an elite level is seriously high. Again, I have a lot of respect. Again, I was fast. I was fast as, you know, like a 13 to 20-year-old, 22-year-old. I was fast, but I wasn't necessarily fast enough to make it to the Olympics. But you really have to understand the level in which those actual Olympians compete at. And it's absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, since we're here, just, you know, in a few sentences or so, I mean, I don't watch a lot of sports, but, you know, I couldn't help watching the gymnastics in the Olympics and Biles, you know what I mean? I had that fever. So I read a little bit about her. I don't think we have any idea what that means. And you right there, you know what that is. What is that difference? Like because you said that's really elite. Like, what is that difference?
I mean, it's a lot of luck. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
Being aligned with the right people and having the right coaches and staff and people to support you. And the people who support you go well beyond just your coaching staff, your parents, your mentors, your teachers, just all the kind of people around you really to be there to support you. And you have to have some luck. I mean, unfortunately, I got hurt and I wasn't able to kind of make it to my dream. Obviously, Simone Biles had her mental health issues. I think she did the right job to really make sure that she protected her body and her viability by pulling out of the events that she did. It could have been a dangerous circumstance for her. But really, you know, having that group behind it, and then you also have to have a lot of determination in yourself in order to do. There's a lot of commitment that you need to do, a lot of sacrifices that you have to make it in order to be at the elite level in athletics.
Right. Sacrifices. Yeah. I mean, isn't that the difference in everything? What are you willing to sacrifice?
Yep.
Which brings us to the fact that you clearly have made significant sacrifices, or I shouldn't say it's clear you've made sacrifices. I will say it's clear you work hard to become the VP of digital channels. But rather than me think I know what you're most proud of, this is why I asked the question I asked for 2 accomplishments. The first, an accomplishment that means the most to you personally, and then the accomplishment that gets the or wow from others. So let's start with that first one. Which accomplishment is the one that means the most to you?
Being a father, honestly. Just I have 3 wonderful children. 2 of them are officially adults now, which is great, and I couldn't be prouder of my 2 daughters and my son. And you know, it's really great to be a father. Fought hard for them. We'll get to that further on in discussion.
Okay, good.
But I think, you know, for me, you know, obviously my crowning achievement as a human being is my children.
I love that. Like, I really underestimated how much men, not just Black men, but men have such pride in fatherhood. You know what I mean? We always talk about the mother and, you know, I'm just so used to, you know, oh, it's the best day of my life, the day I had my kids. But I had not heard so often from men about the pride in being a father until I did this. So I don't know if nobody talks about it enough or if I just never listen.
They don't. I mean, part of what I wanted to do in the response to this question is just to say that, you know, fathers deserve more credit than we get. Black fathers especially, And the deck is really stacked against us, and there's a lot that we have to overcome just to kind of have a seat at the table.
Yeah, and your children are quite fortunate to have you. So love that. Now, what about the one that is one when you share it, people are like, oh, really?
I mean, professionally, I got a few. I think that my latest accomplishment, I think, is a big one. I'll kind of lean on that one. Again, being able to launch the Spending Insights project, it was a year in the making. And actually, I'd say even a little bit more than that. I'm fairly new. It's been 2 years now with my current company, and I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do this project, to really lead it from start to finish, even from a strategy perspective, had I not come to Union Savings Bank. So I'm really pleased and honored and proud that I've had the opportunity to do that, mostly more from a leadership perspective, being taken seriously perspective. And also I've had, over those 20 plus years, that I've been in the banking industry, in the digital industry, I've also amassed a number of professional contacts and was able to leverage those for that particular project. I do know, getting a little bit into my field per se, I don't want to lose the audience, but there's financial technology firms, or what are called fintech firms. And I have some relationships with some folks there, and I help to bring them together with the company that works to do the nuts and bolts of our bank, bring them together, and then really kind of elbowed my way and pushed my way to the front of the line to say, not only that help bring you guys together, but we want to be first.
Okay. Now, when you say we want it first, are you saying this is something that might roll out at other banking institutions?
It is going to roll out at other banking institutions. We are the first of our bank providers' clients to roll this out. We weren't the first ever to do it, but we're the first of our size, first of this kind of relationship. The fintech company that they've done it before has gone directly to banks themselves, but now they're trying to do it as like a resale model and be able to expand their breadth and scope. But we're the first bank to ever do it with FIS. That's what the name of the bank core provider is.
That's awesome. This is a great time for you to talk a little bit more about what this is and what it provides customers. Like, yeah, please.
Sure, yeah. So Spending Insights is a piece of artificial intelligence software that, again, is developed by a fintech company called Personetics. And what they do is they have a mantra that they call self-driving finance. And basically, the tool itself looks at all your banking transactions. If you go to Starbucks, if you go to you're in California, if you go to Safeway, wherever you shop, whatever restaurants you shop at, whether or not you get tacos on weekends or do DoorDash or whatever the case may be, it's going to look at all your transactions. It's going to tell you, hey, you're spending more than you did last month. It's going to give you quizzes and say, hey, how much are you spending on groceries this month? It may say, uh-oh, you're kind of below your budget, or it may say, good job for you. You got some extra money less this month. Maybe you might want to put that in a savings account. So it's really helped to keep people on track of their finances, making sure that there's no surprises, and it also helps people to save.
I love it. Again, I won't name the app that I use, but it's great, and it's really good for tracking, and it really keeps me focused on, if I overspend in this category, then I move it here, and and I love that. But what I heard that this product will provide, it like this one, what I use doesn't provide insights. You know what I mean? Like, I love that that's in the title, Spending Insights, because like it sounds like it would be the kind of product that if I could say that, my goal is to put aside 20%, and then it would say, well, you know what, you only put aside 16%. And like, is it something where it could say, you spent this much at Starbucks? Is that what you want to do? And I know I wouldn't say it like that because it would offend people, but does it have that kind of capability as well?
It does. The next phases of it that we're working on for this year are to be able to automatically put in that savings. If you have a goal and you said you want to save a certain amount, you want to save for a vacation or for retirement or for your kids' college or whatever the case may be, you can do that. that's not there yet. Again, we're working on that
Yeah.
for this coming year. But the part previously that says, look at your spending. Hey, you're kind of spending a little bit too much at Starbucks, and if you cut back on a couple of those, maybe you could help, balance your budget for that month, etc. So it does a lot of those kinds of things. Or it might say, have you bought? I'm looking in the background. Have you bought paintings from some art store before? And you go, hey, I didn't do that. That's fraud. And there's an opportunity for you to call the bank and help get your money back. Did you buy a kente cloth tapestry in Ghana? No, that wasn't me. So then you can call the bank and say, hey, something's not right here, and go. You guys need to fix this. So there are ways in which you can help protect the privacy and the security of your bank accounts too by doing this.
I love it. That's great. Thank you for thinking about what would be needed by customers, because that's what I hear too. Like it was customer need driven and creating that. And I hope it rolls out and gets to my credit union, because that's something I would love to have. All right. Well, let's get back to you. What is a favorite quote, saying, metaphor, or book, and why?
My favorite book is Lilith's Brood by Octavia Butler. She's a Black, she passed away a few years ago, but she's a Black science fiction writer. Lilith's Brood is actually a compilation of a trilogy of 3 underlying books, and they kind of package it up all together in one particular book. It is a super imaginative science fiction book, and it's about these aliens. They're literally like squids. They have tentacles and everything, and they help to save humanity after a nuclear disaster. The main character in the book is a woman named Lilith. She's a Black woman, and she basically trades her DNA and her genes with the aliens to produce hybrid children. She is not liked by the other people who have been rescued. She's really looked as being somebody who sold out humanity, but she's just trying to build and help and to survive. Because when the aliens come, and the other thing that's interesting about it is everything is organic. There's no metals, no spaceships with laser guns, and no beam me up Scotty, none of that kind of stuff. And everything is all organic. And the way that they do that is they breed plants and animals to serve their needs. Like their spaceship is actually an intergenerational ship, and they travel across the galaxy, take hundreds of years at a time. And they evolve, and basically they evolve. They'll kind of come down to the surface, and they will breed with the other species, and what they do is they kind of manufacture through DNA the traits that they need.
Okay.
So it's a fascinating series, and basically the story talks about Lilith and her children. And not only does it talk about her, but then talks about some of her children and how her children go through. And some of them are human looking, and some of them look like, squids. And part of what they do is they go through different generational phases, and they have metamorphosis phases. And it describes what happens to them before and after the metamorphosis. It's a fascinating book. I've heard rumors that there may be a movie made.
Yes, I was just thinking, it's like, I want to see that as a movie. I love science fiction. I have to say, I know I own some Octavia Butler, but it's with a whole bunch of other books that I'm going to get to one day. And you've just pushed it up a little higher on that list of books that I need to get to. That sounds good. I actually
started re-listening to it. I'll put it that way. I have an hour commute each way. Okay. I've been re-listening to the audiobook.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So, this is one of the things I love about that question is I always find like some really amazing books from the brothers. And what I hate about that question is I keep finding really amazing books that I want to read, and that list is getting longer and longer. But that's okay. Well, now I want to ask you about an experience. What is a moment, conversation, or event that either had a significant impact on your life or changed the trajectory of your life?
My divorce. It changed nearly everything about my life. From being able to deal with family court, trying to think about, how society views us. It was definitely, negatively impacting from a financial perspective, and just there was a lot of battling I had to do just to be in my children's lives. And between court battles and lots of money and so on, that was a challenge, and it took me to different places. It was part of the reason that I went to Texas. It's part of the reason I came back to Connecticut. Was really kind of all of that, and really just trying to do what I can to be involved in my children's lives.
Wow. Okay, got it. Can you share a little bit about that experience? Like, not details about your divorce or anything like that, but just because we don't really get, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think we really care. I'm speaking as women, what it's like for the father.
Right.
I don't have kids, but I know, talking to my girlfriends, we are not in your world at all. And if you could just share, whatever's comfortable, but, put some flesh on that for listeners who have not given any thought to what that experience is like for the father.
It's tough. I mean, really, the system and the institution really looks at fathers for nothing more than their financial output. Really, it's more around what's the child support and the fact that you need to pay this child support. What I will say is family court and child support is worse to deal with than the IRS. The IRS, you can at least negotiate. You can say, hey, I can't pay this right now, but I can put you on a payment plan and I'll pay it off in X number of months or years. Child support doesn't care. If you don't pay it, you go to jail. That's it. Period. End of story. So you really need to make sure that you take care of that. And there's not a lot, unfortunately, that they care about as far as your situation is concerned. Gotta pay rent, gotta pay a mortgage, gotta pay your car note. I don't care. Says you're supposed to pay X. That's it. And then conversely, for being a father, being a parent, the default for really shared custody, 50-50 custody, is not really shared 50-50 custody. It basically means that fathers get to spend a couple of weekends a month with their kids.
Yeah.
And then the other 26 days of the month, they're with mom. Just in general. I mean, there are certainly men who out there who have full custody or have more custody relationships, etc. But in general, the standard custody arrangement is kids live with mom and dad sees them on every other weekend, and that's kind of and they split holidays, etc. But basically it's only a handful of days a month.
I appreciate you. I'm glad I asked, and I do appreciate you bringing that up, because we don't like to talk about, just in the same way that it's uncomfortable sometimes for white people to consider privilege. I think there are certainly situations where men enjoy a privilege that women do not. So, I got that. But it's worth noting the privilege that women have in our family law, in our family courts. And what I take away from doing these interviews with the brothers is a realization that we diminish what love is for men, and particularly for Black men. Does that resonate?
Yeah, it does, and I'll say a little bit of a twist or a spin on that is we tend to reflexively label Black fathers specifically as deadbeats. Brother's not paying child support, brother ain't seeing his kids, what's going on with that, he's not there, etc. Situation I had was there were just a lot of challenges that were in place. It was tough for me to get report cards. It was tough for me to be able to get an audience for teachers for parent-teacher conferences. It was tough for me to be able to chaperone for school field trips. All those things were challenges. It was tough to even get extra time or even have flexibility in order to do so. So, the schedule's ironclad. Not that I'm going to get into a whole lot of details, but my ex-wife was definitely very staunch about what was written on paper and would not budge for any reason whatsoever. She took some liberties that weren't reciprocally challenged in court. And I think some other brothers may say, there's kind of a double standard. In other words, if I'm late for a child support, that's a huge problem. Like literally the entire state will come after me as it relates to that. Right. But if I'm supposed to see my kids and I don't, nobody really cares and nobody does anything. And there's really no way to make up that time. So I've lost months of time, literally months of time over the years. Again, my kids are grown now, but I've lost months of time that I will never get back just because of, court battles.
Yeah. Like I said, thank you. We go, this interview is really more of a conversation. I am always grateful for the brothers, like going wherever we go, because that's not come up before in the podcast. And I really appreciate that. What is either a highlight or a significant moment in your experience as a Black man in the United States?
I think I smudged 5 and 6.
Okay. So tell us about an interaction that you've had with law enforcement.
I've been really fortunate outside of being targeted for speeding, and I like to drive my car fast.
What kind of car? What kind of car? Because I love cars.
I have a Jetta.
Okay, got it. Cool. I love the German. I mean, I got you. And I shouldn't say I love cars because I don't. I just love driving fast in them, and I can't own one because I will lose my license. So it's just like living through your ability to enjoy speeding you can.
It's a Jetta. It's a stick. It's red. Red is my favorite color. I did not intend to buy red, but I ain't mad at it.
And red attracts their attention.
Right, yeah. But fortunately, I can knock on wood on my desk. In this particular car, I've not had any interactions, and I hope to keep it that way. Hopefully, Waze helps me because it lets me know where the cops are.
I should use Waze. I never do, but I probably should. Although I will say, okay, I've been in cars and people do, and then you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be doing some driving again this summer, so that's on. All right.
If I need to get where I'm going, I like to zoom a little bit. So that's kind of where things stand. I mean, I'd say that probably the closest challenging law enforcement interaction that I had was actually to go to fight a ticket. So I was actually asked I got stopped. I got a ticket. And the ticket said that I had to appear in court. Like, just, it's not pay to fine and go off on your merry way. You had to appear in court. So part of what was written up in the ticket was that I was tailgating, which I was switching lanes, and the guy said I was tailgating. I don't buy it, but it is what it is. Okay. So I traced myself down to the courthouse, and I have to go in the line to go register. And then some guy pulls me aside, and he says, "So I see here that there was an accident." And I'm going, "There was no accident. What are you talking about?" He goes, "Well, it says here that you were tailgating, which means you were too close to the car, which means that most of the time that there's an accident." And I'm like, I didn't hit anybody. I don't know what you're talking about. He says, "Oh, come here. We'll go talk about this." He says, "Normally that's the case. So officer, whatever his name was, maybe didn't do this right." So he kind of leans on me and goes, "But we can resolve this with a donation."
No way.
Yes. We can resolve this with a donation. I'm like, "Well, what kind of donation are you talking about?" So we kind of talk. I give a number, he gives a number back. I give another number, he gives another back. We kind of come up with a solution on what it is. And then he starts to say, "Well, we also do have you down for speeding." So I was strong-armed into making a donation to the police benevolent fund, and those jokers have the nerve to call me every year to ask for money, which I'm not giving them.
Okay.
But I mean, on the positive side, Nothing's happened to me. I've never been arrested, never been in jail, never been assaulted. Nobody's ever put their hands on me. As far as that's concerned, they got some money from me, but you know, I've been fortunate that it hasn't been any worse than that.
I'm kind of stuck. I feel like I'm not. I feel right now. I feel naive. Sometimes, every once in a while, I hear something and I realize how naive I am, because what the silence was me going, that really happens. That really happens. Stuff like that really happens.
That really happens.
Okay, I do not want you to name the municipality. Don't want it. But I do need to know the state.
I will just say it's here in Connecticut.
Get out of town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, that's enough of me being shocked. It's not entertaining that I'm shocked, but I just, wow. And okay, so look. Sorry that happened to you, and I am glad.
Believe me, the donation to get rid of the ticket was very close to the number that it would have been to just pay off the ticket. Now, granted, nothing's on my record; it didn't affect my driving, etc. But yeah, they got their money one way or another.
You know what? Actually, let me tell you something. I just realized I got shook down, but it was more official than that. So in a municipality in Southern California, I get a speeding ticket. I show up, I get there, and they tell me that, they can instead cite me instead of with the state, a violation of the, and I can't even think about it, traffic code. They can instead give me just a municipal charge, and then you pay less. And it doesn't go on your record, but the city gets the money instead of however it goes. But I was like, okay, so you want me to pay to this and not to that, and that's all. Okay, well, y'all just collected money. I get it. They just did it less officially in your case. I get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So here's the kind of the question I love to ask brothers, which is, if the United States was a woman with whom you could speak, whether she's a mother, lover, stranger, neighbor, friend, whatever, what would you say to her?
I love that question. I really enjoyed kind of reading that question. I would ask her to implore the citizens of the United States to stop being so damn greedy. We are the wealthiest nation in the world. We, for an industrialized nation, have more poverty and homelessness than any of our other industrialized peers. To me, that's kind of a moral failing. And as much as I don't want to begrudge anybody's success, I also don't think we should have billionaires. Make your 999 million. But whatever the rest of that is should go to benefit society. Obviously, society has helped you to make that. But, whatever above that $999 million that you made, and believe me, I'm sure you can do. Granted, I'm not a millionaire by any stretch of the imagination. I drive a Jetta. We already established this. But I just feel that society and the country would be in so much better shape. We'd have better roads, bridges, education system. Children would not be starving. Nobody would be out in the street. And I know, especially the last time I was in Cali, I've seen the homeless problem has definitely gotten much worse.
It's very bad.
Yeah, if we didn't have billionaires, and really, I think that just for me, the whole promise of the United States is around the ability to have prosperity and the ability for its citizens to help each other. Again, it's the United States. It's not the individual states, even though some people want to try to take it there. We don't necessarily go there unless you want to. But the point is, we're a collective. We're all together. We should be, generally, trying to help society succeed. And the fact that we've got greediness, the fact that there, are so many people who think that, the only way for me to get is for you not to. Mother America, however that is, it could somehow talk to her citizens to say, there's plenty, there's enough for all of us to go around. You can certainly make your $999 million and be very wealthy and be very well off. But whatever on top of that is, get that to benefit society.
I love what you said. I mean, right now, there's so much information coming out about our top 10 companies and our top 10 billionaires. One completely disturbing statistic is that the 10 richest men in the United States doubled their income during the pandemic. And again, like you said, it's not about hating on someone's success, but a lot of Americans don't realize in the 20s, 30s, before we got to looser taxes for the wealthy, they would pay 70% above a certain amount,
Right,
like
exactly. Yeah,
you're 999 million. After $1 billion, every dollar over $1 billion, you get to keep 25 cents. And 75 goes here to the nation that's keeping you safe, to the nation that's running the courts that lets you do what you're doing.
The nations that are providing you your employees to work at your company.
That taught, as a teacher who paid to teach your employees how to read and write. So all you have to do is send the memo, not educate them on how to read the memo. Just saying. So I love that. I just, I could go on. That's something that's been on my mind quite a lot in recent days with this excess and I just love how you said it, and we'll leave it at that because you said it. So what is a moment that exemplifies love in a non-familial context?
It's a family podcast, so I gotta make sure I keep it clean. I gotta talk about my partner. Okay. My lady, she's the most fascinating woman I've ever known. She's amazing. So shout out to Toinette. So happy to have you. She's upstairs, but so happy to have her in my life. Really, a lot of it has been for me helping to expand her worldview. So I kind of look up at it a little bit about how Jada Pinkett's character was in Set It Off.
Oh yeah.
And how she hadn't been out of LA. And she was able to take to be able to go out and really start to see the world. So that's kind of what I've looked to try and do with her. So she grew up in the Midwest. She hadn't been out of the country. I've had an opportunity to take her out of the country. She hadn't been to too many different places, and we traveled. And what the one of the things I love the most is just seeing the smile on her face when I get a chance to either bring her to some place that she enjoys or to bring her to someplace new that she's never been before. I took her on her first cruise.
So the first time either you took her on the cruise or you took her out of the country, what was a moment that filled your heart?
She's got a fear of water. Really kind of being on the ship out at sea and not seeing land anymore, and her being a little, concerned about that, feeling safe because she's with me, and also really enjoying the time on the ship itself, if we're talking specifically about the cruise.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. That's great. You have been given a miraculous opportunity. You get to spend 5 hours with any Black male, living or dead. Who do you choose, and what do you talk about or do?
Is this going to be on? This is actually going to be on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we can say, so I can speak to this person directly.
Oh.
We'll see if it gets heard.
Okay. Now keep in mind, it's also going to be on audio. So, but go for it.
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
I would be interested in spending 5 hours with Killer Mike.
Okay.
And I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, I think he's cool. I'm a big Bill Maher fan, and I love to see him go on Bill Maher and just kind of talk about, you know, what it's like, how he breaks it down and talks about what the real Black man's experience is in the world. But also being in financial services, I know that he's one of the founders of Greenwood Bank, and that's a Black-owned bank, and they're really starting to make a lot of inroads as it relates to being able to build up financial services for Black people, really trying to make sure that banking works for them, really trying to utilize some innovative technology. And I just want to sit and just talk with them because we're in the same, because that's some of the same industry. So I would love to say, what are you guys doing? Is there things that I can use here, et cetera? And really just kind of chop it up with him, just say, hey, from a business financial services perspective and reaching out and marketing and those kinds of things, like what can you help me with my career? Like what learnings would you have, and be able to share my experiences with him as well. I would love to be able to do that. And that's kind of, that's a selfish thing for me, for my career right now, but it's like an ultimate networking opportunity that I would love to have.
I love that. This is my question for this season. I just love it. So first of all, Killer Mike, you out there? And even
that's right. Yeah, Killer Mike, come get at me.
There are some really amazing people who listen to the podcast. And first of all, let me just use this moment as an opportunity to thank those of you who are listening for the first time or watching for the first time, as well as all of you who have been faithful. When I publish an episode, I go and look and see the next day and see how many people listen. And I just appreciate those of you who are like right on it, like, okay, new one, let me hear it. So thank you for that. Also, I know y'all know people. I know who some of you are. You've thanked me. Many of my prior guests, my brothers, are listening. So if y'all know, hook a brother up. Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. And the other thing I love about who you chose and why you chose them in particular is, what a powerhouse combination that would be to have, Black people, men and women, but in this case, talking about two brothers, Black men working together to create banking that works for us. Just in terms of being timely with current events, the banks, because of new scrutiny that's coming on to them from regulators, there's been a lot in the news about them dropping overdraft fees. And it's so often people of color. It's poor people in particular, but as our numbers are in the poor, there's hundreds of dollars that are because you made an error. And I know in some cases it may not be an actual error. Some people are just doing whatever they're doing, but it's so great to see some of the changes that have happened over time that are more in alignment with compassionate banking, not like compassionate, we ain't gonna make no money, just compassion is in not being ridiculous. So the idea of having brothers work together to share ideas and maybe even create something even, new, like that's, if y'all look, just so so I've said it right here. If you guys create something new, call me up so I can invest.
Yeah, no, and honestly, the other reason I want to sit down with Killer Mike is because I want to talk to him about how Greenwood can help to own cannabis banking. Because I know he's a cannabis enthusiast, and that's something that banks are starting to get into.
Yeah,
but not quite yet. And I know that obviously Black and brown communities have been disproportionately affected from a law enforcement perspective, and now we're trying to get back into it from an investment perspective. And believe me, white banks, white entrepreneurs are already making a whole lot of money on this.
Yeah,
and we need to get in the game. And I'd love to see somebody of his stature who cares about that part of the culture really be able to help other Black people succeed. His bank succeeds as well, but there's a way to lift up other people, especially people on the ground, cannabis entrepreneurs all across the country.
Yeah, because although in many states they made marijuana legal, it is still illegal in the United States. And so federal banks that are governed by federal regulations, that's still drug money. And so they have to have separate systems for that money. I love it. And like you said, it's like that would be an area where we should be participating, as we are consumers in that industry. I'm not personally a consumer of that, have in the past, but but whether I am or not, it's like I have friends who don't drink. I love a good beer. It's still, people are buying it, and we should be involved in all levels of that industry, as we should be in any and every industry. So
exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
I got that. Well, those are my questions. Well, except the very last one.
Okay.
What did you get for yourself personally, Chris, out of participating in this conversation?
I'll be presumptuous. I met a new friend.
Cool. Absolutely.
So I think that's the big one. I'm honored. I'm really honored that you invited me onto your show, onto your podcast. Really being able to speak about one black man's experience, but hopefully some of what I shared is applicable for for other people in your audience and other people who you may have come on your podcast in the future as well.
It's so wonderful to be creating this community that I have with all these new brothers that I get to meet. And I am so grateful that you said yes to sharing what you're up to. And you also mentioned how, this is just one brother's experience. I'll use this opportunity to say, if you know someone who should be a guest on this show, someone, this is really a show about all different aspects of society and all different kinds of brothers. So please go to 365brothers.com and click on guest opportunity. I would love to hear from you. And so with that, Chris, I always end by sharing kind of the impression I'm left with of that individual. And I got to say, first and foremost, passionate, like your passion and your passion for your children is evident in how you speak about going to bat for them and the time that you spend with them. And then there's your passion for being being active, the degree that you built up your body to excel at that level. Like, I know, didn't get to the Olympics, but okay, fine. The level that you excelled at, that is evidence of a great deal of passion and commitment. And then finally, this new product, what had me reach out to you, there's so evident passion and commitment for empowering people around their finances. Just the fact that who you want to speak to. I said, any black man in the whole, living or dead, and you choose someone who's about what you're about. And if that doesn't speak to a passion for empowering people around their finances, I don't know what does.
So yeah, I mean, look, what I have loved to been able to sit down and chop it up with Heavy D, who grew up in Mount Vernon just like me and is no longer with us. Absolutely. But, I really tried to think about, who I would want to, speak to, who's around now, and we can help each other. And and that's really, for me, more of what it's about.
Yeah, I love it. I thank you for being a brother of passion and commitment, and being an example of passion and commitment for not just other brothers, but for all of us, male or female, all colors. If I had a wish today for everyone, it would be that we would all find that thing that we are passionate about. So thank you. And thank you for being here.